and welcome to episode 4 of the Ulster Hurling podcast. In this episode, we will be looking at what to do with your players as they move up from Go Games. If you like the content, please hit the like button and also the subscribe and bell notification buttons, which will keep you in the loop when any new content is released. We have broken down the episode and each section is timestamped. This and the links of everything we discuss can be found in the description below the video by clicking on the Show More tab. As a bonus, I've been asked how we animate our drills and games for the series, so at the end we will look at how you can simply do this. In this episode, I will be joined by...
Hi, my name's Kevin Hinfey. I am Regional Hurling Development Officer with Ulster Council based in Derry.
Hi, my name is Ryan Gaffney and I'm Growth and Participation Officer for Ulster Camogie.
Hello, my name is Emma Conlon. I'm Ulster GA Regional Hurling Development Officer for Fermanagh and County Cavan.
The title of this podcast was not meant to be any clickbait. We by no means think clubs, coaches and especially players should be looking to get rid of Go Games. Rather, the intention of this is to help get your players from Go Games or under 11, say, to adult hurling and camogie. The Go Game concept has and will continue to make a valuable contribution to the development of young players, as long as we, the coaches, embrace what they are there for. The guiding principles of Go Games are, but they're not limited to, promoting a culture of full participation and fair play, catering for the development needs of all young players no matter about their ability, thus enhancing their skill and social development, ensuring that all can maximise the benefits and enjoyment from playing our national game in a variety of innovative ways, and encouraging parental involvement and support coaching. The playing rules of Go Games were never to be set in stone. There is no reason why they cannot be modified to meet the varying needs and abilities of those involved. However, the small-sided format of Go Games is central to their success to ensure each player gets a full game. On a personal note, I see a lot of instances when coaches add to the numbers in small-sided games, thinking that this is getting more players playing, when in fact it is actually making the game harder. Less space, less touches, and allowing small number of players to dominate the games. It would make more sense then, instead of adding 3 players to a 9-a-side game, to set it up with 2 games of 6-a-side. This way, all players are getting to play, and they're getting more touches, and there's possibly more space for them to move into and to strike the ball. An aspect that we'll come into a little bit later. In the previous episodes, it is highlighted that young children are only keen to learn the skills and work as an individual. So putting them on a 7-a-side team can be a concept too far at this stage. If players are given the right framework of games up to the age of 12 or 13, then they will make the transition to full-sided games a lot easier. The question for you as coaches is, can you pick which players will make it? Who will win your county camogie or hurling championship at under 13 or under 15 level next year? Will that club win the county championship in 8 or 10 years' time? Or more importantly, will the winning team's 5 or 3 key players still be playing at in that time frame? These questions are very hypothetical, and nobody really knows the answers. But in a 2017 article stated there's a 60% dropout in hurling and camogie and a 75% dropout in Gaelic football from underage to adult level. So in your panel of 20 players, that's 12 to 15 players that are not going to be playing when they're at 17 years of age. Or in a panel of 24, that's 14 to 18 players that ain't going to be playing. As coaches, should our role not be aiming to make sure that we are above this stat and certainly not below this, and giving our children and our players every opportunity they can at making it through to adult level and get many years playing our beautiful games?
As a coach, it's important to realise that we should still strive to maintain the values and principles that underpin coaching at the Go Games level. We want to continue to adopt a player-centred approach and ensure that, I suppose, firstly and above all, the children are enjoying the training sessions and enjoying their hurling. Primary target should be make sure the training is fun, playing hurling is fun, and when they're leaving out the gates, they want to come back for the next session. Secondly, the coach's focus should still be on skill development as you're moving out of the Go Games age group. Concentrating on developing the players, their striking, their handling, their tackling, and all their other basic skills. It's important to realise that whilst your team might be moving into a more structured competition, be it a league or a championship, that skill development still has to be right up there with your top priorities as a coach. I think following on from that, it's important to realise as we're moving into your games programme that it's really, really important that coaches keep winning perspective. Just because you're moving into a more structured games programme doesn't mean you should start treating children like adult teams. Keep the winning perspective at all times, and if your focus continues to be on developing the skills, improving the players that you're working with, then at some stage you would hope that the results would follow. But the focus has to be on the skill development and keeping it enjoyable for the children, keeping them coming back, and the results in games really has to be secondary. One of the core principles of the Go Games programme is 100% player participation at games. And I think there's a very important value to carry on up through the age brackets with your players. All players come to hurling and come to their camogie to get playing at games. So it's very important as coaches we give everybody ample game time on game nights. If you're working with large numbers of players, you might have to arrange additional games or extra games to ensure all players get the opportunity to play.
Okay, so I think it's important that we remember that these kids are only coming out of the learn to train phase where they've been exposed to a lot of small-sided games such as 5v5 up to 11v11, and now we're looking to go into the train phase. So if we're looking at our player pathway and the games, if we're looking at the games section, in the train phase, we would encourage coaches to use a lot of part and full invasion games. A lot of these can be seen on the Learning GAA website, and also they give us a game manual from Dublin GAA. In terms of physical development, to help build strength and conditioning, we would encourage the use of body weight circuits during your session. Kids at this stage should be learning their weightlifting techniques with the aim of preventing injuries later in their career. We would encourage any coaches that are looking to improve on their athletes' cardio or endurance to do so with the ball through the use of small-sided games. Coaches should be using dynamic warm-ups in their sessions and also insisting on cool-downs after sessions. It is important that these good habits are installed into the mindset of the players from a young age, as it is a key part to injury prevention later down the line. If we're looking at the technical end of things, as touched on in some of the earlier episodes of the podcast, players should be challenged to perform their skills under pressure. This can be achieved through small-sided games, full invasion games, and part invasion games. Coaches should be encouraging the athletes to develop their evasion techniques during their sessions through the use of side steps, feints, dummy hand passes, and even dummy strikes. Players should be encouraged to develop their striking through the use of long grips on their hurl and short grips. Moving on to the technical end of things, players should need to develop an understanding of the principles of play. They need to learn the different roles and demands of each position. This can be done through the use of games. Coaches need to develop the players' understanding of how to create width during games, how to create depth, how to attack, and also how to defend. We will be covering these principles of play during episodes 7 and 8 of the podcast. And finally, looking at the health and performance, players should be encouraged to eat well and also drink enough water. Players should also be encouraged to take their own water bottles to each game and ensuring that they're clean. Encouraging players to eat a healthy snack 10 minutes after their sessions or games. These are all good habits that will help ensure that we are producing more healthy and well-conditioned players for the future. We would encourage coaches to remember that these players are only coming out of Go games where they're used to not even keeping the scores or there never being a winner in a game to now coming into full-sided games where it'll be more competitive. There was a great article by Cahir O'Kane in the Irish News in 2018 where he interviewed Joe Kavanagh, a former selector and All-Ireland winning player from Nemo Rangers, and they discussed the Nemo Rangers way and the strategic plan that they have taken in terms of player development. In this interview, Joe mentioned a player called Dylan Meehan, who played for Nemo Rangers, who had never made an 18 the whole way through their underage, but won All-Ireland medals and Munster titles across a 10-year period with their football team. The Nemo Rangers way is to develop the greatest spread of talent they can across the board, even when they know it will be at the expense of losing underage titles. They decided that instead of having one strong team and one weaker team, they decided to have two evenly balanced teams, allowing for more of their young players to be exposed to a high standard of football. It was hoped that the stronger players would take out the best in the weaker players and the rest on winning league titles or championship titles. The hope then was that by the time these players reached the age of 16 and 17, they would all have been exposed to a high standard of football and hopefully improved, which leaves them in a better chance of playing and winning titles for their senior team. This surely highlights the benefits of sacrificing the short-term success for the long-term gain, seeing as they have been a hugely successful club. Another plus to this strategy is that it has helped improve their player dropout rate. They do still have some players dropping out, but there would be nothing more off-putting to a young player if they're coming through the gate and not being provided with games. I suppose we have to ask ourselves the question, is success within our games just down to winning titles, or is it ensuring that we provide our players with the opportunity to play the game that they love? Another example would be a man called Chris van der Hagen, who is the Director of Coach Education for Belgium Football, for the Belgium Football Association. And it took them almost 20 years to change the philosophy of Belgian football, where they introduced non-competitive leagues up until the age of under 17. So they're playing small-sided games, anything from 1v1 to 2v2, building it steadily up to 11v11. And this has proved to be a hugely successful strategy for Belgian football, as they are now ranked the number one team in the world. In order for the teams to be successful, it is important that we recruit more support and coaches for the teams as they progress through the player pathway. As always, we would encourage all clubs to try and have at least 3 to 4 people involved with each team. This might mean asking parents to help out in some way, whether that's to look after the admin side of things of the team, to do the PRO for the team, or even looking after the jerseys or team sheets on match day. They don't all have to be involved in the coaching side of things, but the more help you can get, then the easier it'll be to help ensure there's a smooth transition from Go games into full-sided games.
As a coach, you have a responsibility to try to make sure that each boy and girl in your team has a sufficient amount of games that year to develop. As well as your games in your county board, why do you not look for challenge games? At Go games level, it's all about learning the game. When we move into competitive level at under 13 and under 15, it's important to keep these values. So a good way to get more games is by working with clubs in your local area and outside your county to have challenge games to ensure maximum involvement and good skill development. Over the last couple of years, an important development within hurling has been the introduction of the Camogie Youth Hurling Leagues. These leagues are cross-county, cross-provincial, and their main aim is to offer competitive hurling to children. Unfortunately, when counties have so little clubs, their abilities can be very mismatched, resulting in some teams winning by 30 and 40 points. This doesn't develop either team. The ethos of the Camogie Youth Hurling League is to make sure children get games. So if it's 11 aside, they play 11 aside. If one team is short 2 or 3 players, the other team can lend those players over for that game to make sure the games are played. Camogie is a brilliant introduction halfway from Go Games to full competitive hurling. And it's fantastic. And as you can see from this video, it really does, the children really do embrace the ethos of the competition.
I play hurling because it's fun and enjoyable, and it's very good for you.
And I just jumped and I thought, oh, it'd be a great idea to start a new sport. And my dad was a great hurler. He said,
I love hurling because it's a really skillful sport and it's really fast.
It's a tough game, you have to be fit and fast, and there's all skill involved in it.
It's a bit of crack and you get to meet your friends.
Yeah, same. It's good with a crack and you get to meet like new people from other places. And
I just enjoy it, and it's good crack to play it, and it's good for your mental health.
It's good to play with the lads, you know, at the pitch every Friday night. It's good.
Because it's because it's one of the fastest games in the world. I just love it.
I play hurling because my dad played hurling, and he's really good, so that's going to make me really good, better than DJ Carey.
And we are playing some teams that we play in County Down, but at least we can play some teams from everywhere around Ireland.
Best game in the world, skillful, slower.
I suppose to play hurling because obviously watching it on TV, it's a really enjoyable sport. Probably my favourite sport to play, and just get a lot of enjoyment out of it.
It's a very fast-paced game. I like watching it, like playing it.
It's sort of in the family, and it's just a really good sport.
As Connor said, my relatives played hurling before, so I just want to carry on the bloodline.
I really love playing hurling, and my dad played hurling as well, and mum. So yeah, just the same in the family.
So as you can see from that video, the children are asked, why do you play hurling? Some of the answers here is, it keeps us fit, it's fun and enjoyable, it's a new sport. To talk about their family traditions, that their father might have played hurling. Coaches, do we not notice that one thing that the child does not say is to win or to win trophies? What we're trying to say here is when children are playing hurling, they're happy. When they're playing games, they're happy. Their number one thought is not to win. So when we are going into our coaching for the year or planning for the year ahead, remember as a coach, give the children what they want. They want to have fun, enjoyable, they want to learn the skills and competitive games. Camogie is a great tournament that introduces ethos into the children's mindset, and I think that more clubs should join it if possible. This poster was put up at the Camogie Hurling Finals Day, and this was to try to make sure that even though we're going into finals, the children understand the ethos of the competition. It talks about how to celebrate and how to lose properly. Another big thing about Camogie is the involvement of referees. Referees are a vital part of this, and for Camogie to continue to grow, we will need more referees. I refereed myself, and I refereed in Camogie, and I know the importance of it. And if team mentors do push that all players and mentors are respectful to referees at all times. Without referees, there'll be no competitive games.
Looking at your own coaching sessions, how much time do you spend on drills compared to game activities? Is it 50-50, or is it mainly drills with a match fired in at the end of the session? Martin Fogarty has a few good points on this, and also a great video on drills and games to develop the skills of the game of hurling. And we'll be using some of these clips to highlight our points.
Sessions. Some of the exercises we've been using have been around for quite a long time. Basically, we're concentrating on the 6 essentials of hurling. We have also included some mini games and some elements of a game which might be beneficial to you. Really, I suppose skill development is about getting the skill right first, then getting it fast, and then getting it fast under pressure. So I think every training session should be maybe half the session skill development and the other half a game or a match, and the game being the most important part of the session.
Looking at drills, are these based around running around cones, individually based? And if they are, then, like in our previous podcast, they could focus on a sort of test scenario where you're looking the players to get so many touches or execute a skill in a certain time. Or maybe it's looking at breaking down the skill and focusing on the key points of the technique or the skill in order to make the player execute it a lot better. The drills could also be game-related, skills drills, or pressure drills, which we're going to look at now. We've already covered a good bit on skills tests in our previous episode, which again, in the main, are drills focusing on technique and execution. Here we will look at two key skills which are required to be developed for this age grade if players are ever going to progress up the ranks.
Obviously, one of the big changes moving from Go Games into under 13, under 14, 15 age groups is the size of the playing area players are playing on. The pitches are becoming much bigger, and as a result, one of the key skills that coaches should focus on developing at this age is striking. A temptation for most coaches, or for some coaches, is to keep training sessions confined to small areas on the pitch. It gives a greater sense of control of the session. However, it can be a bit counterproductive to develop in long striking. Don't be afraid to open up the players on the pitch and encourage long striking and striking at maximum power. Another excellent technique for developing long striking is to use the ball catchers. Players can strike at maximum power into the ball stop from a short distance away, and the ball will immediately hit the ball catcher and straight back to the players. This avoids players wasting time at training sessions running after balls that have went over their head or over towards the sidelines.
Still twisting the body, not the feet. Run through the gate. Good, Pottery, good, lovely. That's it. Good, Dahi, that was the best one yet, Dahi. Good, Alton. Still more on the road. It's good, lads. Feet's good now. We just need to speed it up. Really, really good, lads. Good man. That's it. Good. 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 Slow motion, Alton. Come on. Speed, 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 speed. Good, Patrick. Good boys, that's it. Good. Good shot.
One area that we would like the athletes to improve on as they move away from Go Games is high fielding. In order to improve technique, I would advise using some drills that I found on YouTube, which were delivered by Peter Casey from Clare GAA. Coaches should get the players in groups of 5, 3 at one cone and 2 at the other. Placing the cones are roughly around 25 to 30 metres apart. In 3, the player throws the ball high but short. This encourages players to run onto the ball instead of the traditional catching drills where players are normally standing under a high ball. The focus here is on catching the ball at the highest point, coming onto the ball at speed, full extension of the catching hand and the hurling hand to attacking the catching hand. In order to progress this exercise, players can then crisscross from into different groups. This will encourage players to be more aware of other athletes running in their path. To help encourage catching long ball, I would get the athletes to work in twos. Striking the ball, starting maybe on each 45, and striking the ball in twos with a focus on catching the ball at the highest point. Again, protecting the catching hand through full extension of the hurley hand. And while doing this, we can ask the athletes to pretend they're fending off an opponent from the front. So catch with their hurley hand in front of their catching hand, catching with their hurley hand behind their hand, and also fending somebody off from beside them. While doing this, I would be encouraging the athletes to time their run so they are coming onto the ball at pace. In order to progress this, we can move them into grids where there's 2 players trying to catch the ball, consistent still insisting on a long strike. This can then be progressed even further, moving in the grids of 4 players and two balls going at the same time. This will again encourage players to communicate to each other and ensure there is no collisions. And finally, to finish with a game, I would suggest getting 4 teams, so a green team, blue team, red team, and a yellow team, and playing a wee game over the river. The yellows can play the red. Let's say there's teams of 5, so the yellows can play the reds in one zone, and the blues play the greens in the other zone. Every team for themselves. Player that wins the ball must strike the ball over the river and into the opposite zone. The 2 teams fight for it, and whoever wins the ball must strike it back into the other zone.
Once we have mastered the skills with no pressure or a time element, then we must look at the game. And how often do we see these drills performed in a game? More often than not, the drills are performed in a 1v1, 2v2, or 3v3, etc. Or in an overload scenario where it's like 2v1, 3v1, or 3v2, 4v2. This is backed up by the research by Dr. Damien Young. Damien highlights these points and many other aspects of hurling in an excellent webinar delivered through learning.ga.ie earlier in the year. I would highly recommend watching it. Like all our mentions, the links are in the description below if you're watching this on our YouTube channel. In this section, we will therefore focus on taking drills to another level, looking at game-related skills drills and pressure drills, and also focus on how to adapt full and condition games to meet your needs. As we are sure that not every club is blessed with 30 plus players at each coaching session in order to play a 15v15 game. So here we'll show you a few examples of how you can set up these scenarios to accomplish this. Pressure drill that is very good for this is the 1v1 push the button drill. It's a very, very intense game. The way this works is that you've got 4 in a group, 2 guys in the middle and 2 guys on the outside, each with a ball each. The 2 guys in the middle come in shoulder to shoulder and touch the button, which in this case is the cone, to show that they're both ready. One of the boys from the outside then hit in a 50-50 ball, and the 2 guys in the middle have to try and win possession. After winning possession, you must return the ball to the guy on the outside who is wearing the same colour as you. So it doesn't matter if the ball's coming straight at you or the ball's coming from the opposite partner. You must try and get the ball back. So yellow to yellow, red to red. From a coaching point of view, this is brilliant because you can stand back and see if the 2 balls are ending over at the yellow side, then you know that the guy in the yellow in the middle is working the hardest and has won the most possessions. And could be done with token, like shadow tackling at the beginning. My advice would be don't be putting the kids in for 1 or 2 or 3 minutes at a time. It's better to be more game specific with players working for 10 to 30 seconds with a similar rest time, and then repeat as required, and then switch the players to the outside and the new players in. This game can also be adapted to include shooting. So you have one player trying to shoot for points or maybe even goals, and the other player trying to clear the ball out. Martin Fogarty has also got a very good exercise in this here, a 2v2 shooting exercise, as you can see from the video here, where the coach will throw in a ball and 2 players from each player from each corner, 2 from each team will come in and fight for possession. This can then be conditioned that you must pass the ball at least once or twice, or making sure that the ball goes dead after you shoot.
When we're playing Go games, a lot of the time it's the children following the ball and there's no spatial awareness. Moving into under 13, under 14 hurling, it's important as a coach to try to educate the child into spatial awareness. A good way of doing this is by ensuring that the child plays in different positions. Don't be putting a child to play fullback at 13 and never get a chance to play midfielder and forwards. You're positioning that child narrowly to develop their skills of the game. So as a coach, don't be afraid to change positions at training. Put a child in the midfield or full back or full forward And don't be picking a child because of their physique. Children can grow at a later stage, and suddenly your cornerback can become your centre half back. Hurling is changing. The old traditional positions in hurling is changing. So as a coach, do not be afraid to try new things out. A perfect opportunity to do this is in challenge games, where you could play maybe your full back further up the field and centre half back on midfield, or put someone maybe who would be in the corner forward in the centre half forward. As a coach, always try to give the children as much opportunity to develop in different ways.
A key component of every training session should be a match. All players come to training, want to play matches and want to play games. An issue may be for a lot of clubs where numbers are small is recreating what players will be exposed to out on the bigger pitch. Coaches might be tempted to revert back to a go game scenario where you may have a small sided games and a small corner of the pitch. But again, that can lead to shorter stunted striking, which won't be suited when they move out to the bigger playing areas in the matches. It's up to coaches to come up with different ideas, different games that'll expose the players to playing in those larger playing areas and more realistic to the game situations they will be in.
A few ideas on this type of coaching can be found in two great books from Dublin GAA, Give Us a Game and Advanced Game Sense. These books, along with other resources, can be used to condition games and activities to improve your players and spice up your sessions. As an example, here are two games I use a lot to emphasise certain scenarios. I got these games from Terence McWilliams, Philip Kerr and the late John Morrison. The first one is Who's Attacking? In this game, two teams line out in one half of the field. The goalkeeper plays a 50-50 ball out, and the team who wins possession has to try and get the ball over the 65, the halfway line, or the far 45, all depending on what principle of play you wish to emphasise and dependent on the numbers you have at your disposal. If the attacking team is turned over, then the defence have to work the ball out past this line in order to earn the right to attack. If there's a score or a wide ball, so the ball goes dead, the goalkeeper then restarts it with another 50-50 ball. The second game is Work It Out. In this game, unlike the traditional backs against forwards, where the ball normally starts out the field, the goalkeeper is trying to work their puck out to the defending team, whose target is to get the ball into a zone, mini goals, or between poles at the far 65 or 45. Again, depending on which principles you want to highlight and the numbers at your disposal. The goalkeeper doesn't always have to go short here, but the defence are going to have to try and get tuned in to try and win this ball back. Likewise, you've got the attacking team trying to pounce on a mistake and then trying to work a score from it. The beauty of these games is the variety and ideas and how you can adapt them. For example, I often combine these two games together. So if the goalkeeper starts with a 50-50 ball, but then after that, the goalkeeper is always playing for the team that is defending. If the attacking team, the team that gets the ball over the far target line, attacks, their opponent must set up to try and defend us, working with the goalkeeper. A score, a wide, or again the ball going dead will result in the goalkeeper working with the defence to get this ball out. Now, if the defence happen to put it out for a 65, then the attacking team set up to try and score this. Again, puck outs can either be short or long, all depending on what the goalkeeper wants to try and work with his defence to try and work this out. This game can be set up to accommodate any amount of players, and it brings in all the principles of attack, defence, and the transition between these both. Another useful idea is to use the step principles to adjust your pitch to suit your numbers. By using cones to emphasise an area you wish the players to stay in around and the number of players in each of these zones, you can very easily set up defensive and attacking scenarios in which you can create certain movements and overload scenarios. Just because, as mentioned by Kevin earlier on, that you don't have big numbers of training doesn't mean that you can't try and still work on long striking, your high fielding, and also bringing in different principles of play into your session. You actually might find out that these sessions are the most beneficial of all. As mentioned earlier, I've often been asked how we create the animated videos within our vodcast. We do this by using Squad Animator. So if you look here and go to squadanimator.com, you'll find a very, very good resource, which is very easy to use. One of the key things with Squad Animator is it allows you to look at many different sports, but in particular, it allows the different avatars for Gaelic football and hurling, which is great to make it sport specific. You can export your product out as a picture, a PDF, or an MP4 file, which is what we normally use. I'd recommend that you try the free trial first of all. Free to use, free to download, and you've got 14 days to use. It's definitely worth a go. So how do you use it? When you open Squad Animator, you have your choice of pitches. So you can go up to your pitch and you can choose a full pitch, half pitch, in around the goal area, or a blank field. So say, for example, we use the full pitch. Here, up in the top left-hand corner, you have all your key features. So what you would do is, I'm going to show you very quickly, is if you just brought in a man, you can bring in a couple. And here, using this wee button here, you can change the color of which you want it. So I can make them blue, and I'll make this guy red. And you can turn them around whatever way you want. And then you can add a ball. So you can add a slitter or two slitters. And if you wanted to, you can actually change the colour of the slitter, particularly now if you're playing inter-county senior hurling and you want a yellow slitter. Cones work the exact same. So you can add a cone or a wee dome cone. And you can change the colours of them. How do you get your avatars to move? The animator is all based around a simple but very powerful keyframe editor, allowing you to quickly compose detailed animations by dragging and dropping players, equipment, props, balls across the field. You can make the players larger or smaller as required. And to delete them out of the road, all you have to do is highlight them and hit X. So if I wanted these two guys to move out around a cone and strike a ball to each other, what you would do at the bottom is you would hit the plus button. And that gives you a new keyframe. Move the person to wherever you want them to go. And I'm going to have this guy running with the ball down to the cone. Hit the plus button again for a new keyframe. And this time I'm going to have him playing the ball out. And this guy turning around and the blue man running on to get the ball. So what does that look like? Again, you can add this in. You can bring in tactics for the puck out. And what does that look like? There you go. But you can also add in then the lines if you wanted to, or grids around it. You can change the pitch around to suit if you don't like that look, so you can use the 90 degrees. Great resource. All coaches should try and use it. See how you get on with it. Remember, it's free for 14 days. Finally, thank you very much for tuning into this podcast, which was focused on moving from Go Games. And we'll be live again after Christmas on the 14th of January, focusing on looking at stats and how you use this in your training sessions to get ready for your next game. Our 4 podcasts coming up after Christmas have a lot of special guests involved. We hope you enjoy it. If you have any questions, any queries, or any general comments on the podcast series so far, or those topics coming up, please drop them into the comment section below if you're on our YouTube channel. Thanks very much and have a great Christmas. Stay safe.